I mean, I'm sorry, but she's been waiting on this. She's been waiting on this. She never liked you as a daughter-in-law, and you're about to get a daughter-in-law you don't like to. It happens that way sometimes. Hey guys, it's your girl Aisha, aka Geek XX Chic, and we're here with another reaction to when life gives you tangerines. I was gonna say when the tangerines fall. No idea why. Oh goodness, when life gives you tangerines. We're now on episode 9, which is called The Wind Goes Whoosh, My Heart Goes Boo-hoo. So I don't know if I like the boo-hoo part of this. This show has definitely given us our share of highs and heartwarming moments, but also our share of harrowing moments. So hopefully nothing too sad or tragic here. Lord knows that my girl Asun has been through enough already, but we are kind of moving into I'd call it the summer of her life, right? We started off with the spring of her life, which was, getting married and, growing up, then getting married and starting her family. And now we're kind of in the summer of her life where she's kind of in her middle ages. Actually, yeah, she's like middle-aged. Her kids are kind of grown, and she's got a daughter in college. Well, actually, we saw a flash that she got married as well. And her son he's having some issues in school. And they're kind of older now and they're living in the city. In the last episode particularly, we see that Asun wanted to study abroad, but she couldn't afford to go. And so her parents decided to sell their house and sell as much as they could to come up with the money so that Asun could study abroad. And we just saw that Gumyoung sometimes has issues when it comes to communicating with her parents and expressing how grateful she actually is. So that's kind of how we left things, I believe. So time to jump into this episode and see where we're going, if we're going to be following more of Asun's story, if we're going to be we're kind of drifting into Gumyoung's story now as well. So yeah, let's jump in and see what we see. So before we do that though, a reminder that if you'd like to be in the know of when I drop episodes, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell. All right, out of the way, let's get into the episode right now. Ooh, careful.
암만 갈 길이 구말리어도
She loves that. Oh, why didn't you tape it? Excuse me. Why are you commenting, sir? You're getting paid. Thank you. Period. Complaining about what she's moving when you're getting paid to move. Because you got a mouth. Guess he doesn't like your perm, huh?
아니 뭐 내가 너를 굶기니? 넌 왜 이렇게
Right?
전기세다. 너도 촬영이네 가지.
Those two are literally each other. How did both of her kids get like the most prickly aspect of her? Both of them just not one could be like their dad, just kind of chill and quiet.
와봐.
Surprise. Oh, he put up new wallpaper. 예뻐.
나갔다 들어와서 문 앞에서 옷 착착 걸면 동선이 최고 좋지. 당신이 똑똑하니까 당신이 다 잘 골라.
갑자기 왜 그렇게 말이 많아?
Because he knows you're feeling some type of way.
이불을 어디다 넣을래? 장독은 또 어디다 묶게?
언제는 뭐 집 좋아서 살았나?
It's true.
시집살이 할 때도 새빵살이 할
As
때도
long as she's with her family, she's good.
당신 있으면 거기가 그냥 내 집이었지. 아 진짜 촌스러 죽겠네. 어디서 저런
결국 또 자판을 피네. 또.
That's what some parents like to do.
아유 고집은 꼭 광래를 닮아가지고.
Exactly. Look exactly what she grew up watching. A mom who sacrificed for her kids.
딱 스키다시만 팔 거야. 이모들이랑 절대 안 겹쳐.
Oh! You gonna pay for it?
머리는
Oh, it is him. He did his hair again. Can't even recognize him because his hair changes every episode.
나는 언제 다 커요?
Never happens from what I've heard.
나도 아직 덜 컸죠.
Thank you. See, it never happens. We get older, but up here, we never catch up. We got a heater for his mom too. That's so real. When you first go someplace abroad, when you've never been abroad before, the first, couple weeks or months are amazing. But then afterwards, you get really homesick. Now she's feeling guilty too. Because she thinks... Yeah, I know she feels guilty too that her mom is working to put her here. Show your appreciation by getting good grades and being kinder to them.
더는 절대로
I don't think
그들의 꿈을 빼먹지
you
않겠다고.
are their dream, Gumyoung.
어. 아니 지금 맥가이버 할 시간이잖아. 근데 양은명이가 안 나와. 어.
You sure it's a boy? I feel like it's a girl in there.
그 뭐?
Yeah.
내 방에서 나가라고.
Who's paying the rent?
여기 네 방이 어디 있어?
Thank you.
네가 이 집 샀어?
Period. When you start paying your own bills, you can sit there and you can lock doors. That's right, Dad. Go in there. It's your house. You paid rent.
야, 근데 왜 포크가 두 개지?
Yeah, you didn't figure out. And she put 2 glasses too? She's in. No wonder you couldn't move that thing. Why would she hide in here? No. Excuse me, you're a weird man coming in my room.
저 진짜 엄마 살려주세요. 저 진짜 죽었어.
It's not going to be once. That's a rough situation because, of course, you don't want to see her get beat. But at the same time, you know she's going to do this every time. Not going to be the last time.
이불로 기도 딱이지 뭐. 어?
예, 좋고 말조죠.
Not the first time she's brought a man home, huh?
민옥이 할머니가 환갑 때 말했었다. 도의적으로. 그러면 집구석서 숨을 데가 장밖에 더 있느냐고.
Yeah, ma'am, you took way too long to answer the door. Your dad, and he clearly knows you.
하시는데 어디 이렇게 가출을 막 이렇게
No.
작아졌지?
I need y'all to be so serious. Why would he hide a boy?
집이 어렵나?
아닌데요? 잘렸는데요.
They thought Gumyoung was going to be the one they had to worry about, and look it.
양영웅이도 들어오라 그래.
사랑은 탈선이 아니야.
뭔 얘기야?
이것은 소리 없는 아우성. 저 푸른 해원을 향하여.
I guess he is a little bit like you, Heihan. Maybe not as quiet, but he definitely has your stubbornness.
10년을 보다 보니까 어느 순간 내 눈에 예수님이 안
Oh
들어오더라고.
my god, is this supposed to be
그럼
sweet?
어떡하냐고.
Stop noticing.
아, 응?
양은명이는 아빠의 사랑꾼 기질을 닮았다.
Yep.
근데 저는요.
Mom's mouth, but dad's steadfastness. She's been pretty assertive from what I remember, though. I'm pretty sure she was kissing on him.
부시야?
Whose kid is she?
아, 뭘까?
Please tell me it's not the man she would have almost married.
그래도 긴장 때도 한번
Damn, it is. Oh my
그러니까
god.
말하자면
Didn't your daughter, you told your daughter not to marry poor, did you not?
너는 똥 밟지 말고 꼭 이 집 아저씨 같은 사람한테 시집 가라.
Oh, well, I mean, she listened then. I thought you said someone poor. So that's what they, okay, we never saw the other part of this scene. Okay. Damn, she was obsessed with you, bro. Sorry, Mom, I think you're gonna be married into that family as much as you tried to avoid it. Hopefully she's nothing like her dad.
내가 볼 땐 상길이는 애순이를
A
조금
bit?
좋아했어.
He was obsessed, please. Especially because she stood up to him. That's exactly when he fell for her.
이모 신났어. 너는 승나비?
Yes.
승이 많이 나는 거야.
I mean,
지금?
anyways, let me not judge the girl. It's not her fault her dad is an alcoholic piece of crap. I said alcoholic, I meant abusive. Sorry. I mean, I'm sorry, but she's been waiting on this. She's been waiting on this. She never liked you as a daughter-in-law, and you're about to get a daughter-in-law you don't like to. It happens that way sometimes. Although Aesum is actually like a good girl. I don't know anything about Hyunsuk though. Let me not slander her. Outside of her being a little bit forthcoming, we don't know anything else about her.
그러는 거였다.
Is this not the boy that was in the closet?
한국적 애완을 한국의 산으로 표현을.
내 애완은 지금 여기서 내가 제일 애완이 있어.
Well, let him paint it. He wants to just paint it.
박하배. 아니 화백나리. 화백 봐봐.
Oh, thank you for recognizing. No.
나
그래도 잘리진 않나 봐요.
사장이 소심해.
I mean, you did call him His Majesty.
떡이라도 사들고 지하로 삐죽삐죽.
That's why you be quiet.
그거 보셨어요?
다음이요.
이따 저랑 보실래요?
Asking you out. Oh, is that him? A military man? Home. Oh my God. Guess they're back together. They're like, this is better than the movie.
아이, 나 이제 연애 안 한다고요. 몇 표랑 더 안 하고요.
Oh, so he's got a crush. Period. Exactly what do you think is going on here? Two exhibitionists now? Exactly.
난 너무 좋아. 나 원래 잘 안 먹으니까.
Help us find our missing student. He's like, how far in the hood are we going, girl? He's like, I'm getting nervous.
이게 뭐야? 무슨 할렘도 아니고.
What's wrong with Harlem? You haven't been to Harlem?
이런 동네가 뭔데? 여기도 다 잘 먹고 살아.
Please don't be so judgmental, rich boy.
걱정되니까 그러는 거 아니야.
Sir, you're working so obviously slow. Come on.
도로 미국 가. 가, 이 미국 놈아.
Oh, she said get out of here. Don't like you foreigners.
너 따라오면 죽어.
This is why she dumped your ass 8 times.
살색을 하나도 안 썼어. 살색. 이게 지금 말이 되는 상황이야?
You don't need to understand the artist's vision to appreciate the art. I mean, his work is good. Ma'am, did they tell you to sit down and have a little read? They said to drop off some dumplings. Making yourself comfortable.
돈가스 얼마더라? 영화값 얼마지? 여행 한번 갈래도 당신 돈 없지? 부담되겠지?
Guess he's getting dumped too.
몇 번이나 더 올래? 식장 들어가기 전에 몇 번이나 더 와서 밥
Your
먹는다
wedding.
그랬어. 너 나 만나면서 선만 6번 봤어. 치사해서 나도 그만할래.
Okay, he said we're done. Don't answer it.
당신 여자 생겼지. 그래서 지금 센 척하는 거지.
Did you answer it? Just let it ring. Exactly. What did you think was gonna happen?
네가 잡으면 잡히기나 하고.
I was just delivering dumplings.
방문 앞에 내 신발을 발로 차고 다니기 시작했다.
I mean, that looks suspicious as hell.
아니, 만두 좀 잡수시라고.
Yeah, you should have started with that when they walked in. That would have been a little more believable.
극장에 꿀단지 숨겨놓고 있었네.
참하네.
Honey pot?
왜 계속 대꾸를 안 하시지?
Right? Can you please stand up for me?
기도 안 쳐서 진짜.
But I guess he doesn't want to. He's fine with her assuming this.
너 농고 중태지. 여기 서울대야.
Ooh!
말
Ooh! He taking up for her? You better pick up your pride and leave, girl. Pick up your pride and leave. All right, well, looks like maybe things might be changing up here, guys. It was looking like her and the rich boy were kind of locked in, but looks like there's either some drama that's happening or maybe she didn't marry who we thought. Maybe she married an artiste. That doesn't feel like something she would do, but you know what? There's this theme that's been resounding with her and her mom about, when she asked her mom, would you marry a rich man if you could go back again and choose? And her mom said no, she never regretted marrying Won-shik, but we know that the poorness, the poverty, I mean, I wouldn't even say that they're even in poverty, but they're not rich. It's always bothered Gumyoung, right? She's always felt like first it was a burden and embarrassing, but now that she sees how hard her parents have to work to help her achieve her dreams, she's even more upset. So, yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. But yeah, this episode, we definitely focused a lot more on Gumyoung. We did touch on the family a little bit. We'll talk about that really quickly. The family moving into the apartment, having to downsize their lives a bit in order to support Gumyoung and be able to send her money. And we see that Young is an interesting one. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I guess, as I said, both the kids have got Asun's fiery disposition, right? Both of them, lots of yapping, lots of bristliness, but I would say that everyone says that Gumyoung's just like Asun, and I agree, and that she's very, out there, very, very loud, not afraid to say what she's thinking, prickly on the outside, but, big fat softy on the inside. And I said, actually, I feel like Gumyoung's almost more like her grandmother, even though she never met her. The temperament to me is a little bit closer, because even though Asun says a lot, she isn't really too rough, right? She's quite soft with Won-shik, for example, and she's softer with her kids. But anyways, Young is a bit different, right? I feel like Young, there's definitely some underlying resentment there with him. I do hope that they figure it out at some point and talk through it, because I feel like he's just going through typical middle child syndrome. And even though he's technically not a middle child anymore because of the tragedy that happened to his brother, I think he's still kind of going through that, right? The middle child often feels like they're overlooked. They often feel like no one sees them. They often feel like, they don't get to experience the firsts and the responsibilities and everything of the first child, but they're also not the baby. They don't get all the special treatment that the baby gets. And they just kind of feel like they get lost in the middle. And with Young, again, even though he's technically now, back to being the youngest in the family, so to speak, I think he knows that he's been living with his brother's ghost to an extent, right? We saw a couple episodes ago that Guanxik and Asun still don't really talk about what happened to the baby. And even though they both know it's done and they, for the most part, move forward, it's still this elephant that sits in the room and in their family. And the fact that they're not talking about it makes me think that it doesn't make Young or Young feel safe talking about it either, at least not to them. And that's kind of the hard thing with grief. I talked about it a lot in the episode where we saw that happen. But, when the parents who lose a child, sometimes they forget that the children, the other kids, the other members of the family, they feel the loss as well. Obviously, it's going to be felt differently and in different ways, but it's still there. And the same way in that episode, they both had to recognize that their kids were mourning as well and that they had to kind of get it together so that they could keep living for their kids. They also need to be able to learn to get to a point where they can comfortably talk about their son who they lost so that their siblings can also, that their other children, I should say, his siblings can also talk about him and reminisce about him and not feel the sense of guilt or fear of what, it might bring up in the parents to talk about him. So anyways, all that to say that for Young, I think he's like, okay, my brother, he's this presence that's still in our family. My dad, I see him looking at kids and I know he's thinking of my brother sometimes. My mom, she doesn't even talk about him, but she still puts out an offering for him, and still, I'm sure he probably catches her at moments when she's remembering him. And then with Young, it's like, oh, that's my perfect child, right? My only daughter, the one that's living the life that I wish I was living. She's so much like me. I'm so proud of her. All I can do is sing her praises. And I said this a couple episodes ago as well. Asun has a bad habit of comparing the two kids. I am not of that ministry. I just don't think it's a healthy thing for parents to compare children. I know that they don't mean anything usually malicious by it. It's usually just to be like a motivator, but it often just makes kids feel inferior. It makes them feel like, kind of like you've heard Young say multiple times, is she your only child? Is she the only one you care about? Is she the only one who's worth anything? And then we heard him say in this episode, I'm just the replacement, right? So I feel like, and maybe it's because he's a boy and his brother was a boy. Maybe there's an association happening with both parents and that they're both a little bit more hands off with him. And it could be because he reminds them of their son, or who knows, but I don't think it's coming from nowhere is my point. I think Young has been picking up on things, sensing things, and he's got some resentment sitting there. And the fact that he said that one of the reasons why him and, was it Eunhyuk is her name, I think? One of the reasons, no, Hyun, what is her name? Hyunok? I can't remember her name. I'm sorry. I know it starts with Hyun. Anyway, one of the reasons he likes the girl he's with now, remember he said that she's got two brothers and she still prefers me, right? So he just wants attention, right? He clearly is feeling like his parents do not pay him any mind unless it's negative attention. And all we've seen, sadly, since he's become a teenager is pretty much either Asun or his dad either yelling at him or chastising him, right? So, and again, I said this in the last couple episodes that he's doing things for negative attention as well, but all that to say that there's stuff going on there, and I'm hoping at some point either Asun or Guanxik picks up on it, or someone in their life, maybe the Hanryos will be the one to pick up on it, and, hopefully they'll have a good conversation with him, because if that goes if they don't deal with that at some point, it's definitely going to drive a wedge in the future. It could turn to a situation where when Young gets older and he starts his own family, he just won't really feel the need to stay close to his parents, and that would be really sad, because I just think this is definitely a case of miscommunication where it's all concerned. But anyway, that's kind of what's happening at home. Young's got a girlfriend. He's been dating her for over a year now, going on 2 years actually. And yeah, he's basically saying that he's been hiding her and she ran away from home because her dad doesn't want her dating. And again, I feel so bad for Asun, because of all the girls that had to be the daughter of the man she almost married, who she cannot stand, who's caused her family significant pain. Of course, Young doesn't know any of that, and it's not really necessary to tell him. I mean, it happened, most of it, before he was even born. But yeah, I get why she's not thrilled and doesn't want to be tied to that family in any way. But as I said, we can't blame the girl for who her father is. She has no control over that. I pray that she hasn't picked up too many of his habits, but I feel like probably not, because her dad we already saw he's not very nice to girls. If anything, that poor girl's probably just trying to run away from an abusive jerk. And, even though we see Young being a bit bristly to his parents, we see that he also made sure that his mom's chair was comfortable. We see that he also does things. He saw there was all the work to be done around the stand, and he cleaned that up when his mom was working. And, he's always looking out for his mom, is the point. Like, he's very caring about her. He notices when she's uncomfortable. He's worried about her, right? Just like Young is. They don't like the fact that she's working this hard, that his dad's still working so hard. And so he does love his parents. He does care about them, that, all we hear him do is bark at them. So anyway, that's what's kind of going on at home. And I thought it was funny that I didn't realize that was supposed to be Guanxic's mother. But yes, Guanxic's mother, who was working at the stalls, of course, had a little kiki at A-Sun about, oh, look at you having to deal with having a son that fell in love with a girl you don't want him to fall in love with. Look at that karma. Look how that came full circle, right? But as I said, I feel like she still needs to recognize what a great daughter-in-law she got in A-Sun. I don't know why she's still giving A-Sun some flack here, but it is kind of funny that happened to A-Sun after all was said and done. But again, I feel like this girl, I don't think the girl is the problem. It's her dad, right? If he's still around, he's a miserable, cantankerous old man. So yeah, the idea that he's going to be tied to A-Sun for life kind of sucks. But anyway, especially when they all said that he had a thing for A-Sun. And I said this, right? Didn't I say a couple episodes ago? That man actually, I think he loved the fact that A-Sun stood up to him and sat like, it's funny because I was saying that it would have been the worst thing ever if A-Sun married him. But now looking back at who A-Sun is and the kind of spirit that she has, and the fact that he actually low-key, high-key loved the fact that she is the way she is. If Guanxi didn't exist and she actually had married him, I really feel like she probably would have changed him. You know what I'm saying? Like, A-Sun would not have put up with the abusive behavior. She would not have put up with the, just the way he acts. I feel like he actually would have cleaned himself up quite a bit if she'd been his wife, come to think of it. But anyways, I'm glad she had to go that route anyways, because she did not, it was never going to happen. But anyway, so that's basically what was happening there. And also, like, I really love that cute moment too when they first moved into the apartment. And once again, Guanxi saw that A-Sun was kind of, feeling some type of way about how old the place is. And it's not the nicest place compared to the house they sold. But, I love that A-Sun has always had the ability to look at the positive in a situation, right? She has never dwelt on the hardship of her life for long. She has always been someone where, okay, it's, things kind of suck right now, but here's the good things. Here's what I got to focus on. Let's pick up our bootstraps and go. And so, yeah, thankfully, she kind of got over that quickly, but it was really sweet that Guanxi decided to like redo the wallpaper in the place and do what he could to make it look nicer because, he wants her to be happy no matter where she is. And again, just reiterating what a beautiful love story the two of them have. But anyway, back to Young, we see that she was, again, feeling guilty. The fact that she feels so bad about the fact that her parents worked so hard to support her. I mean, like I said, I love that she's appreciative. I'm glad that she recognizes that they are doing a lot, that they're sacrificing a lot so that she can do well. But I also feel like she doesn't need to feel this guilty about it because that's what good parents do, right? Like, I don't know a good parent that doesn't do whatever they can to support their child as much as they can if it's within their power to do so. That's just what you do. And I think when she becomes a parent, she'll probably understand it more. But I get it, and I do think it's sweet that she doesn't want her family to have to give up any more or sacrifice more for her. But yeah, I just hope she stops kind of feeling so guilty because it's not like she's forcing her parents to do anything, right? They're doing it because they love her and they want to support her and they have the ability to help her. So, but anyways, in the meantime of all of this, we see that she's now living in a room in this house with a man who has very strict policies around boys. And that's what kind of kicked off her meeting this artist who... It looks like our girl's about to have a little bit of a tryst. Either she's about to have a tryst with this artiste or he's the one she ends up falling in love with. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, we were introduced to him. He reminds me of Guanxi, to be honest, in the sense of being quiet. Because as soon as the owner of the theater described him as someone who doesn't talk much but is quietly stubborn, I'm like, that's Guanxi. That is Guanxi to a T. Right? He's someone who, exactly, doesn't say much, doesn't really fight with people, but he does what he wants anyway, right? So I can see my girl Gumyoung being drawn to that if she starts to figure that out about him, especially considering in that last little scene there, the fact that he stood up for her when he had no reason to stand up for Asun in that situation, outside of saying that they weren't dating, because they weren't, or Asun, sorry, Gumyoung. But anyway, interesting that she's, you know, back to her on again, off again with the rich boy, but where there's potential for her and the rich boy to break up, outside of the fact that she keeps dumping him, which I think is a pretty good indicator that maybe they're not that compatible, and the fact that his mom hates her, is also the fact that you can see he's got a little bit of classism going on there, right? A little bit of his mom's mentality is seeping through to him, which is not really his fault. I mean, if he was raised with means and raised around a certain mindset, it's not going to be easy to turn that off, even if you do love somebody who comes from that background. But we know one thing for sure is that even though Gumyoung feels some level of embarrassment about her financial situation and her family's kind of situation, she's not ashamed of her family at all. And she does not like to be looked down upon. So anyways, when he came and saw where she was living, and of course she was trying to like, I thought it was hilarious when she was trying to be like, don't worry about all the graffiti, and oh yeah, I don't even get meals because I like to cook for my, like, she's basically making light of the fact that she's in the most like basic of conditions because that's all she can afford. But the way that he's looking around, and you can see he's getting more and more visibly uncomfortable as he's walking further and further into the neighborhood where she lives. And eventually he says, oh, this is like Harlem, to which I'm like, bro, have you even been to Harlem? I mean, I know he was in the States apparently, but I'm like, something tells me you're not hanging out in those neighborhoods, sir. But anyway, he basically in that moment looks down on where she's living, and effectively by extension is looking down on everyone who lives in these places. And I really love that, you know, she didn't get embarrassed or feel like she had to like compensate for that by being like, oh no, like, you know, she said no. She's like, this is where I live. Like, she's like, the people here are good. Even the way he pulled her away when the artist walked by, right? Which again, the artist doesn't even look that bad. Like, yeah, okay, he's got a beard going on. He could use a haircut, but there was nothing about him that looked like to the point where you needed to like pull her against the wall like he was brandishing a weapon, right? But it's that classism, right? I was waiting for him to be like, it smells of poor here. I can smell them, the poor. I don't like them, right? Kind of like in the movie Parasite, right? The man that used to always say the smell. But anyway, he just basically looked down on everyone. And I love that she stood up for where she lived. Like, she's like, this is fine. Like, this is what I could afford, basically. And she also said the people here, she's like, they're not all bad people. She's like, that guy, he's an artist, a really good one, actually. The people here are good people. The family they live with are good people. Like, who are you to look down on them because this is what they can afford to live in, right? Like, and of course he was just like, no, you need to live where I live. You're gonna at least move to Seoul. You don't understand what's going on here. And she's like, no, you don't understand what's going on, right? You've been living in your little bubble of money. You don't know what's going on in the real neighborhoods, the real places. What's actually happening here. You're talking from this distant lens of superiority. So no, you don't know what's going on. And anyways, and also him telling her, yeah, let's move, you should move into Seoul, go to a nicer neighborhood. And it's like, sir, are you going to pay? Are you volunteering to finance my apartment or wherever I live? Because Seoul's expensive. You know, she ain't got that kind of money. She is a student working part-time right now. You think she can afford to live in Seoul by herself? I need you to be so for real. So anyways, she broke up with him again. We'll see how long it lasts though, because we know that's a pattern with them. But again, I feel like the fact that he didn't even realize why he was wrong in that situation. Like, I know that his intention was that he just wants her to be in a good, safe neighborhood. But like I said, that classism kind of came seeping out in that conversation. So, and of course that's a sore spot for her because she, as I said before, she's very sensitive about her upbringing. So anyway, that's where they are right now. She's broken up with him yet again, and apparently he's living in the States. So I'm not sure what's going on there because he was in the military, but now I guess I don't know if it's because he's stationed there, he's working, they didn't explain, but point is, it's a long distance relationship, and now they've broken up yet again. And now we see that the artist has broken up with his girlfriend, who, well, you know, rightfully is bringing up the fact that he's living a very simple life. Apparently she's like, why don't we ever go out anywhere nice? How come you never buy me things, etc.? Why am I always footing the bill? And he didn't answer. He didn't say anything, which is very guanchic to let someone yap while he just sits there quietly. But my guess is that, you know, I don't think it's that he couldn't make more money. I mean, we saw his painting, we saw his work. Like, he's very talented. He could probably make really good money if he decided to do something else with it. But I think his whole thing is a little bit like where Gumyoung is, in that it's like he doesn't want to spend his money on those types of things, right? He's more about his art. He's more about things that are meaningful to him than, keeping up appearances, right? So she wants to go and be with somebody who, you know, has lots of money and can take her to fancy restaurants. Like you said, you've been on 6 blind dates since we started dating, so you can go with one of them rich boys. Leave me alone and stop dragging me into it. You know, as a poor artist when you met me, so why are you expecting me to change because you want me to be something else, right? So anyway, it looks like they're on the outs as well. So we've got a situation where these two could get together, and yeah, we'll have to see what happens there. We don't know much about him outside of the fact that, like I said, he's quiet and stubborn and very talented as an artist. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. They spent a lot of time on the rich boy though too, so I'm not sure. I mean, if my girl Gumyoung's about to have a love triangle, ain't nothing wrong with that. But we'll have to see. I need to know more about this artiste before I can make a solid decision of whether or not that might be the better way for her to go. I'm still curious as to who she was walking down the aisle to. We know she gets married, but now there's a question as to who is at the end of that aisle. So yeah, another good episode, cute. I like they didn't have any inherent tragedy with this one, just a lot of cuteness. So I'm looking forward to the next episode and seeing if we can learn a little bit more about this artiste. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching along with me. If you did, please show some love, and I will see you in the next one.